so everybody knows the rules.
Good, Jeannie. To clarify that language, maybe this is a question for Mr. Sweat. When you said any other business, when you had this discussion last Thursday night, the way I interpret that, I'll ask Mr. Sweat to leave the term. When you say any other business that comes before the board, that would be like what you do when you open the agenda for 5 minutes. That people from the audience bring up and comes before you, the board, at that time. Not stuff that you guys predetermine and discuss and have on the agenda, but yet those meetings, I have not seen any agenda made available, and anybody taking minutes or any approval of any minutes at the subsequent meeting other than this one, you just lump them all on today.
If there's an item of township business that any of the supervisors want to discuss and it requires a vote, they can do it at a publicly advertised meeting where they're not limiting the scope of what they're doing at that meeting. The only requirement under the Sunshine Law is that if there's an item that's going to come up for a motion and second and vote, that the public gets to comment on that item. So it's not anything raised by the public that they vote on. These are items that they decide to make an agenda item for that particular night to transact township business.
That my question there would be, unless they had another meeting, besides that, when did they get together to determine and lay out the agenda and have these items already agreed? That's what I said, they were already on it. It's not new business that came up that night.
It can be developed a number of ways. I mean, an individual supervisor can say, there's something that's been brought to my attention, we need to vote on it. Something may have come into the township office and Tammy raises the issue that, hey, here's a letter, here's an email, here's something. Or I could say, there's something you guys need to talk about inside. It can come up multiple ways.
Shouldn't there be an agenda for those meetings made available to the public?
If they know that there are agenda items that they want to talk about that night, yes, there should be an agenda. But if they come in with no agenda, but then something comes up, because it's a public meeting, they can vote on it, as long as they let the public comment on it.
Well,
so there would be an instance where there wouldn't be a written agenda if someone just said, there's an item that you need to consider.
Well, that was in question at the last Thursday night's meeting that I asked for the agenda because there were items on the agenda that they were addressed.
Yeah, ideally, if they know there are certain items, there should be a written agenda so the public is aware. If they want to review it at that meeting.
Mr. Sweat, is it clear though, since it is a public meeting, it's advertised, do they not have to have a written agenda?
No.
They do not?
No. They just have to identify the agenda item that they intend to take a vote on so that the public can comment on
There
it.
doesn't have to be anything visible at
No, there should
that
be
meeting?
minutes though.
But is there something visible at that meeting that they have so we know what agenda items?
I mean, it depends on what it is. I mean,
Since it is
it may be an email that was,
special
it may be an email that was sent by Senate Engineering to Doug Teagard. And he brings that email and says, we need to vote on whether or not we want them to go forward with preparing these plans.
Okay,
It could come up that way.
Should they not have an agenda, whether it be copies for the public, even though it is an advertised public meeting, should they not have an agenda?
If possible, they should have an
Something
agenda.
that we could look at, just knowing there.
If possible, yes.
But there should be, regardless of any correspondence, if there's layman and things that aren't to be added due to any emails or any additional correspondence prior to this. Is there not an agenda since it is?
There should be, but they're not
advertised
restricted.
public meeting?
Even without an agenda, if it's an advertised public meeting, they can take action, even if there's not a written
Correct. My
agenda.
question is, do they not have to have an agenda? They can make amendments to that agenda or add items to that agenda, since it is an advertised public meeting.
The correct Robert's rules would be, Doug Teagard says, I make a motion that we put on the agenda for tonight's meeting whether or not we ask Senate Engineering to prepare the plans for the building.
But do they
He
still
seconds
need
it, it becomes an agenda item that way.
But my question is, do they come in with an agenda? It could be a blank piece of paper with tomorrow's date on it, because that's a document that solidifies that meeting, that is an advertised public meeting. Do they not have to have some form of document
No.
And other clarification, there is a survey going out or there is not a survey going out? According to the planning commission, there was a survey to be sent out, is that clear?
That was their recommendation.
Okay.
Planning Commission doesn't make the rules, they make recommendations. They're an advisory body
So
to the
what
Board of
is the result of
Supervisors.
the recommendation?
I'm sorry?
What is the result of the recommendation?
There is no survey.
There is, excuse me,
There is no survey.
can you tell me why?
Because there's not. It can't be done fairly. It can't be done fairly, and it can't be done accurately. That's all.
Just like the fire sound, man. Fair to
It's in on
They had a survey last night, they lost it. That's right.
That's your opinion.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other business? Good, Jerry.
voted on unanimously passed, then Thursday night you voted to rescind that. How is it then that we're actually passed away this? Because essentially we're not. Correct? Because everything we do on a Tuesday, you can come on Thursday just going out. So how is that even? And I'm being serious. I don't understand. Like, why is she even at the planning commission? If you're not really going to have us do anything.
It's called dictator rule.
No, I'm serious.
The municipality's planning code really needs to be read. Because it says in there that, number one, the township supervisors, the governing body, it is their decision on whether or not to accept funding. The Board of Supervisors decided not to accept funding, except as a general donation or donation to the general fund. That was approved. When you read excuse me?
What funding are we talking about?
The funding for the survey. That was,
Okay, well, if we.
and when you read the letter that the supervisor sent to you, it explains,
I did not know.
well, it was sent to the chairman of your commission.
Okay, so we find that out at our next meeting?
Well, I can't copy it and share it with you. We'll give you copies of what we have.
Share with us what we have in the meeting.
He couldn't see that you get it. And you can forward it to you, email it to you, whatever. But the document explains a lot of your answers to a lot of your questions. Okay, no, it's 2 pages. You want your copy, you want a copy of it tonight, we'll your copy. But that was the decision that the board made. And they also, there's a couple other motions they made. One was that they were okay with sending it off to be reviewed by someone else. And I think the other motion was to direct the solicitor and the zoning consultant to attend the planning commission meetings as they may be directed to do. That's the motions that took place.
But still, my question is, what is the point of having it in the planning commission? I see you saying that you group 2 other parts, but if it was if this is our process to take over now, and that was our first step of how we want to do it as our process. So
Again, you need to read the letter because we suggested that we would be in favor of a survey if it was taking in the points that need to be considered.
okay, well, we said we would take it to the Washington County Board of Elections and let them do the entire thing, and they
Well,
can
that's-
do that.
Again, read that then if you have questions.
Okay, well, the next question is, why do we get nailed individually at the MPC, but we can't get that nailed to us individually? Like, why now is it with our chairman, we have to wait for your...
You asked for the MPC to mail to you. You were going to take it up as an item at your meeting. And it's not been taken up yet. It's been, I think, 3 meetings.
We have tried every time we get sent on to something else, and that's how it's been going. So I would love to do that.
And we also,
And you also want us to talk about zoning, so how do we get the MPC, how do we do everything we have to do in our
You have to meet more than once a month. When we started on the zoning process, and it was probably about December, and there's a lot of citizens in here that were at their meetings, okay, they came month after month, and in between meetings, we had the meetings as well. We had lots of sessions, okay, and this thing just didn't happen overnight. It's been a long process, and if it still needs polishing, and I don't think Charlie's still here, I wish he was. I'm all in favor of an advisory committee taking part. That's a good idea. I'm fine with that. The process is still in the works.
Thank you.
Dave, you called me about an issue. Is there anything else you wanted to, okay?
Motion to adjourn.
Keep the camera on.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. Ready? All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it straight.